In Mahastan inscription, 3 types of emergencies are also mentioned: Udakatvaika, flood; Devatvaika, fire accident; and Sukatvaika, destruction of grains by the parrots. Distribution of coins as loan or contingency is seen in the Mahastan inscription. This is a part of re-employment of in post-disaster phase. It is a part of rehabilitation process. According to Mahastan inscription, dhanya, that is paddy, is given, not anna. Boiled rice was not given. It was dhanyam. Paddy helps to may be used as food as well as for agricultural purposes. Now I'm coming to the reconstruction phase. I think you can hear me. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm little afraid. Reconstruction is a part of rehabilitation also. Okay, the inscription of Rudra Damana, Shaka ruler of Kardamaka lineage 150C, and Gupta ruler Skandagupta 455C, found in Girnar Hill, focuses on the reconstruction of a setu, that is dam, at Sudarsana Lake, devastated twice by the storm and torrential rains. For these 2 inscriptions, I have tried to analyze the causative factors of disaster, examining the physical features of the Junagadh region, factors relating to the creation of Sudarsana Lake, type of storms, and obviously disaster mitigation policies. Actually, the Sudarshan Lake is situated in an arid region of Saurashtra. Thus, in the inscription of Rudradaman, it is found that, ignoring the conflict of opinion among the ministers and the executives of Rudradaman, he decided to get it repaired with the help of Subishakha, an administrator of Anartha and Saurashtra, without much delay. In Skandagupta's inscription, it is seen that at the time of emergency, ordered by Skandagupta, Chakrapalita, the administrator of city of Saurashtra, got the dam repaired within 2 months. Now, we have seen the rehabilitation processes regarding the disaster management, but please try to think what a managerial system can do when a society comes almost to an end after the disaster. So, only a proper environmental awareness as preventive measure can help constructing a sustainable society. Numerous Ashokan edicts and bilingual inscription advocates the protection of flora and fauna. Ashoka couldn't stop the slaughter of the living being completely, but tried to restrict it with a goal to environment-friendly economy. Except that psychological assistance to a disaster-stricken society after the Kalinga War, which was a man-made disaster in 261 BCE, also reflects in the Major Rock Edict of 13 of Ashoka. Policies to eradicate psychological trauma in post-war situation come under the recovery phase, although no detailed description of the war is available in Rock Edict 13. Actually, it can be felt that it arose the war situation arose remorse within the man Ashok, not the king Ashok. Except these inscriptions, we have few inscriptions regarding the policy of water conservation. Those are Ara inscription of Kanishka II, Magdani tank inscription of Shamba, of Pulumavis regnal year 8, the Gunda inscription of time of Kshatrapa Rudra Singha year 103, etc. So except this inscription, there are many inscriptions, many literature which describes the disaster management in early India. So in this paper, it's my humble attempt to situate the concept of disaster, both natural and man-made, and practical and prescriptional approaches regarding the disaster management. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At last.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Anuradha Ramesh, can we try your mic again, please? No? Okay, so yes, the headset is not connected properly. Can you try changing the headset? Yeah. While we have Mrs. Ramesh back on, can everyone put their camera on and we can do a discussion? Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Maiti, I was wondering if you can facilitate this session since we can't still hear Mr. Ray, who is the session chair.
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Yes, can you turn your camera on, please?
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So Dr. Ray, Mr. Ray is currently with us, but I can't hear with the connection. Would you be able to facilitate this session that everyone's given the summary? So now we can do a discussion on each presenters if we have questions. So would you be able to facilitate the discussion?
Okay, okay. Thank you. So is there any question regarding the regarding today's session? We have 6 participants here.
So any of the presenters have questions for each other or comments?
There is no comments in the chat box. Please comment in the live question and answer and discussion session.
Yes, no questions yet. Any of the audience? If you have any questions, please write your question.
No question.
So we now have Mrs. Ramesh back. Let me just try this again. Can you hear me, Mrs. Ramesh?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay. Would you be able to give your 5-minute summary of your presentation, please?
Surely. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience, all of you. Namaskaram. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you for this session. My name is Anuradha Ramesh, and I'm a research scholar. I'm pursuing research on Nrityopacharam in the Agamas in Chennai, and my guide is Dr. Ambika Kameshwar. So thank you once again for this opportunity. And without much ado, I'll just give you a small summary of what my research is all about. So when you speak about South India, or when you speak about India in general, the first thing that comes to mind to a lot of people is the temples, the beautiful temples that are there. And when it comes to South India, more so. So these beautiful temples are probably the centers around which a lot of things thrived in India a long time ago, right? It is not the case these days, but some time back. So what has to be done in these temples, and how the temples have to be administered, and anything relating to a temple are written in scriptures that are called as agamas. Okay, so we have what is to be done, how it is to be done, what kind of a temple it has to be, how big it has to be, how small it has to be, what is the kind of place that has to be selected for a particular kind of temple, and anything pertaining to a temple, whether what are the various celebrations that have to be done in the temple, the rituals that are associated with it. Everything comes in manuals that are called as agamas. So basically, depending on the kind of temples that are, we have 3 kinds of agamas, and they are the Shaiva agamas, the Vaishnava agamas, and the Shakta agamas. So the Shaiva agamas pertain to the temples dedicated to Lord Shiva, and they are roughly about 28 in number. And then when we talk about Vaishnava agamas, it is again to the temples. It pertains to temples that are dedicated to Lord Vishnu, and they are primarily divided into 2. We will come into it. And then we have the Shakta Agamas, which are for the temples that are dedicated to Shakti or to Devi. Now, each of these agamas, any of these agamas, are basically divided into 4 sections, and each section has a particular purpose, right? So we call it the padas. So we have the Jnana Pada, the Charya Pada, the Yoga Pada. The first is the Jnana Pada. It deals with the spiritual philosophy of why the temple is being built, and so on and so forth. Then we have the Yoga Pada, as to how you reach this philosophy, how you practice this philosophy is the Yoga Pada. And then we have the Kriya Pada, which basically talks about the construction of the temple, the festivals that are to be done, in relation to the temple, the procedures, what are the rituals, and the Charya Pada. The Charya Pada is the 4th Pada, and that also covers similar things as to what are the rituals on a daily basis and on an occasional basis, and how these have to be conducted is basically what is the crux of the Kriya and the Charya Pada. So these 2 padas are of special importance to us, to me, because it basically deals with the ritualistic quotient, or what has to be done at the temple on an everyday basis or on an occasional basis. They are called as the Nitya Upacharam and the Naimittika Upacharas. Now, what are Upacharas? Upacharas are basically services or offerings that are done in the temple. And dance, or Nritta as we call it, was part of the Shodasha Upachara, or the 16 Upacharas that were offered in the temple. So when we come to the Sri Prashna Samhita, as I told you, when we talk about Vaishnava Agamas, there are basically 2 divisions. One is the Pancharatra, and the second type is called as the Vaikhanasa. The Sri Prashna Samhita comes under the Pancharatra Agamas, and it gives us very specific instances as to when dance has to be offered on a daily basis and also on occasional basis. And what is of great interest to me as a researcher was the fact that in chapters that deal with the Mahotsava, or the great festival which happens once in a year in a temple, they elaborate as to what specific dance or movement has to be done. Like, for instance, if you have seen my presentation, the video presentation, we had, while raising the flag to show the commencement of the great festival, they have something that is called as the Vishnu Kranta that is mentioned, that has to be done, that has to be performed, or that has to be danced. And this Vishnu Kranta is basically as an offering to Lord Garuda, who is the Vahana of Vishnu. So like this, we have specific instructions and instances as to which kind of dance has to be offered at which part of the festival. So that was what my presentation was all about. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. We now have another presenter join us, Ms. Kazavi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you give a quick 5-minute summary of your presentation, please?
Yes, sure. And I was always there somehow. I don't know. I had joined only as an audience, and then I realized that something had gone wrong. So I'm sorry about that. So namaskar. And in the very beginning, let me tell you that my presentation or my research is a very, very preliminary research. And I am definitely looking forward to a lot of suggestions from the august audience here. So this is about a small temple in a small village called Khidrapur, which is in Kolhapur district of Maharashtra in Shirol Taluk. This is a 12th century temple built in a Bhumija style of architecture, built by a Shilahara king, Gandaraditya. Now, this is a Shaiva temple, and obviously, generally, the iconographic scheme completely conforms to the Shaivite schemes of temples. So, and it also conforms to the Puranic traditions with, that the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, everybody is with their consorts. Not only that, even the Dikpalas are with the consort. This is a very rare thing to see, but it is there. Now, what was most intriguing in this temple was that it is not uncommon to see Kamadeva icons in Shaiva temples. It's a very, very common thing in most Shaiva temples, especially in Deccan, in that particular era, 12th, 11th, 12th century, you can say. In this particular temple, what was most intriguing is that Kamadeva is seen in 4 different places. And this is a rare thing because one odd figure of Kamadeva is very common, but to have so many icons of Kamadeva is rare. More importantly, the locations of Kamadeva are very prominent. So if you have seen my presentation, you would have seen that there is a Gajathara, which also is a very beautiful and a different concept of Gajathara. This is not like a normal just a row of elephants, but every elephant is carrying a divine or a semi-divine figure or an icon on its back. And one of them is Kamadeva, a very elegant 4-handed Kamadeva. Why I'm stressing on 4-handed here is it shows the divinity of Kamadeva, but at the same time, one could also see that there is some artistic liberty which the sculptor has taken because he wanted to have Kamadeva also driving the elephant. 2 hands are holding the ankush and 2 hands are holding the bow and the flower arrows of Kamadeva, the sugarcane bow. Now, more important depiction of Kamadeva in this temple is on the Kapili. Kapili is the place where the Antara and Gudha Mandapa, and the Garbhagruha, they Mandapa and Garbhagruha, where they join each other, and the place in between is called as Antara. So exterior of that is called as Kapili, and this is on the Kapili. Why I'm stressing on this, I'll come to that. And this is a very large icon of Kamadeva with Rati and Vasanta and the entire paraphernalia. Then you have third depiction again on Jangha or the wall of the temple, which is near the Makara Pranal, which is again is an important location. And the fourth one is on the upper Jangha of the temple. Now, no, it is in the niche of the elephant row, that is the Gajathara. Now, I was very intrigued by this because this is a very rare thing to see. So my preliminary observations on this was, and I understand that I need to deep dive into this. I understand that we have to see a lot of literature and vernacular literature. I haven't been able to really pinpoint that as to which tradition or which textual tradition does this conform to. But the another important aspect of this temple is there is no erotica whatsoever. Now, if you see the contemporary temples of that era, all the temples will have some amount of erotica. The locations may vary, the numbers may vary, but it is there. Whereas in this particular temple, on the exterior, there is no erotica. There is only one erotic sculpture or picture, you can say, in very low relief, and that too on a pillar, inside of the pillar in the Buddha Mandapa, and one can see clearly that it is a Tantra Diksha scripture. So in that sense, it is not erotica, which shows that this temple did have tantric tradition supporting it. The sculptures of siddhas and yoginis are very predominantly seen everywhere. So tantric affiliation also is established. So there is no erotica. There is a lot of use of mango blossom motifs and Bija Puraka in the entire iconographic scheme. There are 4 depictions of Kamadeva at important positions. And the entire temple, you can see that although there is Shiva in Linga form in the Sanctum Sanctorum, on the 3 main Bhadra projections, you have only Uma Maheshwara as the icon. So again showing that, you know, this temple probably was dedicated to Uma Maheshwara form of Shiva, which again, so all this according to me goes towards showing that this temple was dedicated to the fertility cult. That could be one. The other could be that as is very aptly observed by Dr. Devangana Desai in her erotic sculptures of India, so show cultural paradigms of it, that the erotica was mainly to promote fertility, one, and it also was considered as very auspicious. Now, when we say fertility here, it does not mean just reproduction. It also means avoiding the evils, to stop the mortality. So all those aspects of and the abundance. So all of that is inculcated in the concept of fertility. So erotica majorly was a part of all these auspicious symbols. And since you do not see any of them, probably this entire erotica is replaced by Kamadeva. That is my understanding. I may be wrong, but this is how I look at it. So maybe that is one reason why there are so many Kamadeva sculptures of it. The fertility affiliation of the temple is very clearly seen through mango blossoms, through concerts of all the icons and Uma Maheshwara thing. So this could be another, and the third could be that many a times Shiva and Kama are considered to be one and the same. So Kama resides within Shiva. So there is this very beautiful thing that when Shiva destroyed Kama, but at the same time he was attracted to Parvati. So on the one hand he was destroying Kama, and on the other hand there was this desire for Parvati which was emerging into his heart. So Shiva and Kama, so Kama resides within Shiva and Shiva manifests Kama. So on the one hand Shiva is Kamari or Kamadahaka, and on the other hand Shiva is also the Kameshwara, one who is the Lord of desires, so one who grants all the desires. So in that sense also probably Kamadeva comes as an important deity on this particular temple. So these are my preliminary observations. Very recently, another scholar has mentioned to me that this particular temple probably belongs to Sri Shailam school of Shaivism, which I need to still, further investigate and find out. So I stop here. This is how I understand, and I would like to get some inputs from all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll invite all the speakers back to stage. Dr. Meiti, would you like to facilitate the discussion, please?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to say that we are really unfortunate that we couldn't hear our chairperson, Dr. Krishnendu Ray sir. Whatever, I would like to congratulate all the paper presenters for presenting such wonderful papers. The session is really a learning experience for me, especially for me. Actually, history is a broad ocean, and the history is a very living subject who is changing day by day. The history, architecture, art, and epigraphy, not only history, as a part of history, art, architecture, epigraphy is a huge ocean, and we are the sailors who are trying to sail the ocean sitting in our tiny boats. Don't know if we will successful in this venture or not. Whatever, again, I would like to say that for decoding the concept of modern sciences or modern concept, history is a very necessary material to us. Historical materials are very necessary. However, the joining the World Sanskrit Conference and joining especially this session is really, I'm really fortunate to joining this session, and it is again I'm saying that all the papers I've heard is really learning experience for me. Now, if there is any question, there are two questions in the live question answer box. I think Barbara Nelson mentioned, Anuradha, that thank you for your paper. If your video dancer demonstrated some, some ads are coming, demonstrated some movements, they seemed very brief. So I wondered if the movement is repeated or is it incorporated into a longer dance? Thank you. I'd like to say Anuradha Ramesh to say something. Hello.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me, Anuradha?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you hear me now?
we can hear you.
Yeah. So,
Yes, ma'am.
where the phones and I seem to be able to be heard. This thing is going to go on, I think, every time I answer a question. Thank you for the question, Barbara. So I'm glad that you actually saw the movements that Trend has done. So in answer to your question, a single movement is brief. It is a short. I believe that it would have been repeated. And as to whether it was of a longer dance, I'm not very sure of that, because what has been specified is that, and that is the way that Karna is actually executed. Yet to find out as to whether how many times it was done. So what practice is right is done on the left, and it is done in 3 speeds is. But there is no record as a record these dances where that is part of my. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, ma'am. And there is another question for you from about the ritual dances. Performances, are these done offered by the devotee, or is it rather someone else doing the dance but patronizes by the devotee, or something else still? Ma'am, can you hear the question?
Yes, I got the question. So the beauty of as they called it, it was women who were dedicated to the temple. Now, they were dedicated to the Shiva temple, then they were called as Rudra Ganikas. And if they were dedicated to the Vaishnava temples, like in Sri Krishna Samhita, they talk about Ganikas.